it's okay.
Katie does amazing things in the classroom, a lot of project-based things, but today she's going to be talking about how to make it all globalized. Isn't that right?
Sure.
Sure. Welcome, Katie.
Yay. Thank you.
Where's it go? Back where? Here? I don't even see the other one. Where is the other one?
Green light.
Oh,
It's like
I
a
do.
magnet.
Whoa,
All right.
magic.
Yay. Thank you for coming over here to room B. Yeah. Okay, my name is Katie Kato, and I usually don't give like a big story about my life and who I am, but because the title of my presentation is Inspiring Global Citizens, and part of global citizen education is like sharing your story. So I'm just gonna share with you guys a little bit about who I am. So for those of you who know me, you might not know this about me, that ever since I was a little girl, I wanted to be a teacher. So I grew up teaching my dolls how to read in my bedroom and making a big mess with pens and crayons all over the floor. And then from there, I studied in high school. I actually studied, I took a teaching course, we have special courses like that, and I did a lot of teaching in elementary schools and kindergartens when I was in high school. And then from there, obviously, I went to university and studied to be a, So that's kind of how I got started. And I also really liked speaking Spanish. So I worked at a restaurant and I liked talking to the cooks and things like this. And when I got to university, my professor was like, you really get it, you should study abroad. And I had never thought of that before. And so I took her advice and I moved to Costa Rica and I studied Spanish. And that was my first real trip alone as an adult to another country besides Mexico or Canada or something for me. And it was so powerful, this eye-opening experience that I could see that America's not number one. And there's so many cool places in the world with interesting people and different cultures. And it was really powerful for me. And it kind of started me on this journey of really wanting to see the world and understand and meet and know more people. From there, I taught English actually to foreigners in San Diego. And I met a lot of cool Japanese people. And then that's why I decided to come to Japan. And I started teaching here. I thought it was just going to be on my trip around the world, but I'm still here. I have a family now, I have a school, and when I started my school, I went to a lot of different kind of things to learn about how to teach better, and I did lots of research, and I kind of discovered project-based learning. And I found that brought my school to life, and my kids were using English naturally and being creative and connecting. And so that was kind of my thing that I really started to gravitate towards or do. And I couldn't find the proper curriculum for project-based learning for EFL young students in Japan. So I started to create my own curriculum. And from there, I am here. Yeah. So that's kind of me in a nutshell. And ever since I started teaching, I never forgot that first experience when I lived abroad and I discovered another country. And so for me, it's always been really important to kind of convey that message to my students, to have them have this curiosity about people in the world, and to find beauty in everything, in other cultures, and not think you're always the better one, but just be interested and open to learning about other people and ways of living. So I wanted to start off by asking a simple question probably, but why do we teach English in Japan? Anyone? Anybody? Naomi.
Give the kids a tool.
Yeah, give the kids a tool. Okay. Arika.
Yeah. Actually, I don't teach kids.
You don't?
But I teach elder ceremony.
Okay.
They're very eager to learn.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, why?
Why do we teach English?
For them.
For the kids, yeah. Adam, why do you teach English? Yeah, there's a lot of reasons why we teach English in Japan, but the main reason is because the world's increasingly interdependent, we're all connected, and English is the lingua franca for a lot of different reasons that we don't need to get into. So we're all connected, and people have been saying this for decades and decades, right? We're all connected, look what you buy or what you eat. But you watch the news and you see all this news, not just about Japan, but about other countries, right? But it's not just the world out there. It's how Japan has really become global even inside of Japan, right? So for example, I live kind of in the inaka, right? In this kind of beach house, like really not. Anyways, when we first moved to my house, I think I was the first non-Japanese person to move into our neighborhood and freak everyone out. And I probably still do. It's okay though, you know? But that was, so now fast forward 10 years later, my daughter's school has one class per grade, and my daughter's class of 27 students has one kid from Australia, one kid from Malaysia, one kid from China, and my daughter. Yeah, so it's quite mixing, right? As well, we also, because there's a lot of cabbage farms around where we live, and farmers are getting really old, so we just had Vietnamese farmers, like the farmer moved in Vietnamese people across, like literally across the street from my house. And we also have just down the road, not even maybe half a kilometer down the road, a bunch of men from Senegal. And they live there, they get car parts and send them. And so those men from Senegal, they ride their bikes by my kids and all the students walking to school every day. But nobody says hello. Yeah, it's like, it bothers me, right? Like no one wants to acknowledge that they exist. And the Vietnamese farmers, it's like kind of just like no one talks about it, and we're not going to invite them to the like neighborhood stuff. And it's just sad to me. So I don't think I need to make the kids say hi to these people that they don't know. That's not my goal. But to talk about, why are they here, right? Oh, they're there. Did you see them? Blah, blah, blah. Things like this, just to have conversations. I think that's our job as educators or just humans, is to have kind of these kind of conversations with people and talk about things like that. So that, even though I was always so obsessed with talking about world with my students, I didn't know that it was like a thing that had an acronym for education. But it is, and it's called Global Citizen Education. And if you look on the UNESCO, www.unesco.org, they have lots of information, lots of free literature about global citizenship education, and it's really interesting. And so on their site, they say that global citizens don't need to travel to other countries or speak a different language. A global citizen understands how the world works, values differences in people, and works with others to find solutions to challenges too big for any one nation. So it's kind of like a big thing, and we're not going to try to tell our first graders that change the world. But our job as teachers is kind of plant seeds and get our students thinking about who they are in the world and things like this, and how the world connects, or just to be curious and open and accepting and empathetic. So it says, global citizens are curious about others' perspectives and opinions. They work in teams and can interact with people of different backgrounds, respect diversity, empathy, and open-mindedness, participate actively in society and strive for the collective good, and ask questions about what is equitable and just. So these are different things. And one thing that's really interesting about global citizen education is that you don't have to go to other countries. It's not just about that. It's about just being interested in people, working as a team, and being open to that. So how can we plant seeds to raise global citizens with our students? And here are just kind of pictures of some random things that I've done in my school. Usually I take summer camp as an opportunity to like get my kids interested in other cultures. And so here we were celebrating Diwali, like the Festival of Lights from India, and I have a picture book. I brought it somewhere here, and we'll read that, and then my kids make lanterns, and we did fireworks, and so they can kind of celebrate different cultures. This is when I took my students abroad to the United States, and we went to an elementary school there, and my students made a whole like Nihon Matsuri, like festival, that they planned, and these girls, their station, they decided to do fukuwarai. They created it all by themselves, and they practiced, and they wrote like how to explain everything, and it was a really great experience. But it doesn't always have to be so elaborate. Just putting a puzzle together of the world map and talking about it, just build, seeds. And also just working as a team. That's a really big part of it, and just feeling like part of a community. with kids who are different than you. So I think that's kind of our job as educators or even as eikaiwa, for me, is to build connections. So we can build connections with students in the room, with our classmates. We can help our students build connections within our school or even their school. And then it kind of just grows, right? Build connections with the community, with other projects that you can do, or people that you can meet, with your city, country, and the world. It kind of is just ways that we can teach our students to build connections. So now that you kind of know, like, okay, this is global citizenship education, this is kind of why, what can you do to kind of get your students, what kind of projects promote global citizens? So collaborative projects get students working together, working as teams, talking things out. So I think that that's a great thing that you can do in your classroom. Also, like things like sharing or learning about different countries and sharing about them. So my students might make a poster about a different country and look up the information and then share it with other kids in the class. They might make a presentation in a different way or other things like this. Sharing about you. It's really important for our students to be proud of who they are and where they're from. And a lot of times we'll do projects and my students really want to share about Japan or they really want to be proud of who they are. But that's also very important to like have them be proud of their culture and just as equally be proud of their culture as they can have interest in other cultures and understand everyone is proud of where they're from and who they are. That's really important. As well as just sharing about your interests and your hobbies. Because when students are interested, when they share about themselves, the other kids in the class get to learn, oh, they have different hobbies than me. They have a different kind of family than me, right? So it's kind of sharing with each other about who we are, and that's really important. And finally, just having, when your students get a little bit older, talking more about open discussions about the developing world and why do we have robots and what's AI and is there too much plastic or just like things like this that we can have conversations with our students and just kind of open their eyes to different things. So on the UNESCO website, there's a lot of literature with different ideas and how you can get your students to become global citizens or think about other people. And one of their kind of recommendations is culinary adventures. So I think a lot of us talk about what's your favorite food with our students and things like this. And I kind of have this worksheet, or it's in the book, in one of my books in second grade. And it's the different, we practice where is he from or where is she from. And it also has all of their favorite foods. So the kids can learn about different foods from different countries, even in second grade. And if they don't know what the foods are, we can easily look them up online and see what they are and look at pictures and do you think it's yummy or do you want to try and different things like this and be open to different kind of foods and what people eat. And then we can also try different fruits or vegetables or foods from other countries with our students. And we can also go to like the Indian restaurant or something like this and give our students these opportunities to try different foods and learn about different cultures in this way. I don't know if you guys do know this. Yeah, so I really love this YouTube series or whatever, like channel. My kids actually showed me. That's how I found out about it. And it's called Kids Try. And it's really great. And they try different foods from around the world. So usually I'll show my students, is it not going to work? Oh, yeah. I show my students this. Maybe you can't hear. Oh, here.
That's gross.
Oh, yeah. It's gross. So we'll just watch a little bit. But it's really good, especially when it's Japan, for the kids, for Japanese kids to see other kids not like their food.
Make me go like this. It's a peculiar taste.
So we might watch that kind of video with my students. And it's a really good exercise for them to realize, like, oh, if you say it's gross, that might hurt their feelings, or things like this. It's really important for them to see that and also be proud when people try Japanese snacks that they like and things like this. It's really great. And so we'll watch some of those videos with our students, and at the same time, they can also see different foods from around the world as well. And then with my students, we did like a snack exchange with another school from the US, and my students got to try a bunch of different snacks, and we took a video of them trying it that we sent to the other school. And so they were trying so hard to like be nice, you know? Like they tried different stuff. I didn't put the video because it's like we were like laughing and it's funny because they ate the flaming hot Cheetos and then they're trying to be cool, like it's not spicy. And then what do you think? And they go, yeah, it's interesting, you know, like trying to be kind. But so it's just a really great activity how we could connect with kids from other countries and try the snacks from where they're from. So there's lots of different things that you can do with culinary adventures. And then I also have my students read about these kids' favorite foods from where they're from. And then my students will write about their favorite foods and kind of make posters or present their favorite foods to the class as well. And we can do cooking, and there's so many different kinds of things that you can do with culinary adventures. Okay, another thing that it says on the UNESCO website is community exploration. So learning about different places or communities or cities around the world and kind of seeing how those people live. And so my students here, for example, they might read about this town in Mexico City, or we'll learn about other cities. They're gonna read this kind of model video about this boy's town in London. And then my students all make their own town videos about where they're from, because that's also very important for them to be proud of who they are and where they're from and share with the class their favorite places to go in the city or wherever. And then there's lots of things that you can do with this. So when we learn about different cities, I always use Google Earth with my students. So we can look up different countries, we can look up different cities and see what it looks like there. And my students can kind of travel and see how different people live. And have you guys seen this YouTuber? Someone shared it before, but it's called Exploring Whatever Country Until It's Ugly. And she just like taps on different places of the map and then it zooms in like Google Earth. And the cool thing about it is most of the places in every country are beautiful. Yeah, and then when she gets to like some old parking lot or something, then she'll say, okay, that's ugly, but everything else isn't. And so it's a great thing for students to see different countries or other places around the world and just kind of like totally normal, random, not famous places and see kind of what it looks like. So there's so many kind of different activities that even you could reenact this with your students, and they really like that. There's also so many kind of, what's this called? Like virtual tourism videos. So especially that became like bigger when it was COVID and nobody could travel. And so this one, they go to Australia, I think it's Sydney.
Hi, I'm Madeline. I'm Reese.
Hi, I'm Lucy.
Hi, I'm Kate.
My name is Martha. Hi, my name is Kate. My name is Asha.
Hi, I'm Daniel, and I'm 10 years old. Here are some of the reasons why I think you should visit my hometown, the city. We've got some of the most famous buildings in the entire world. You can see a show, take a tour, or even climb up to the top. There are some really amazing attractions, and some great places where you can see everything.
Really, really quiet. It's an amazing view.
There's breakfasts everywhere. There's lots to choose from.
The Royal Botanic Garden Sydney is right beside the city. Cooper and I found a big hill and we rode down it all the way to the bottom.
This place is one of my favourite places to go. It's awesome.
And my favourite ride is the rotor. You go spinning, 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 spinning. You feel like you're gonna throw up.
Meanwhile, it's like a huge big water adventure park with some utterly epic rides. Today we went to Manly Waterworks and we had a lot of fun. Catching the ferry is a very nice way to travel. It is fun.
Okay, so you can see, if you watch that with your students, they can see how other people live, cool, what kids think is cool about their city. And then my students also will make their own video about their country that they want to share with other people as well. So it's getting kids to be proud of where they're from, but also learning about other countries and different kids around the world and what they like to do in their cities, as well as to see like, oh my gosh, they like roll down a hill, or like people like to do different things and that's okay. So I kind of really want my students to see these kinds of things. And there's lots of different picture books as well. This, for example, is I live in Tokyo, so I might show this to my students, and it just shows a girl's life throughout the year and the kinds of things that she does. And if you read this kind of book, you don't have to read everything, but your students can relate. And, oh yeah, that's rice, and I like that, and what's your favorite? What do you eat for breakfast? And you can look like this. And then there's also I Live in Brooklyn, so it's the same author and the same style, but they can see about another, like how these people live in New York. So there's lots of different things that you can do to show them different cities or countries. Yes?
What age are the kids usually that you're teaching this sort of stuff?
Yeah, so for example, the favorite foods is usually 2nd grade. Yeah, when
Something like this, for example.
this is usually 3rd or 4th grade. Yeah. And sometimes 5th, it just depends. Yeah, 3rd, 4th, 5th-ish. Yeah. Yeah. So there's so many different ways that we can show different cultures and countries. So it's not just the cities, but I like to show my students what different classrooms look like around the world, or how people go to school around the world. There's so many like really cheap readers with pictures, but there's also the internet that's free, and there's so many things that you could show your students. These are different kinds of houses all over the world. These are different markets in the world. So there's so many kind of things that I like to show my students in the textbooks, but then once you go here, you can look more deeply by researching on the internet. And I teach my students how to do like the voice search, like using the microphone, so they can do everything together, and it's also teaching them a life skill a little bit as well. So this is also how my students, they'll watch this and then they'll make the video, like the one that we saw, and my students will make their own videos about Japan, and this is kind of how they do that, their own travel documentaries, or they make it about other countries as well. So other ways that we can get our students interested in other cultures and the world is talking about hobbies and traditions and things like this. So we might learn about different holidays around the world, like we did at summer camp, and we learned about Diwali. And we might do kind of fun things at camps like piñata or whatever, like people do those kinds of things. And then we also talk about, like when I do what's this, or what are these, or something with my students, it was always like, what's this? It's a pen, right? That like everyone makes that joke or whatever. But there are situations when someone might ask you, like, what is this, right? And I used to do this activity with my students, and they were like, why are we asking, what is this? It's a daruma or something. And I said, because if my mother came to Japan, she wouldn't know what that is. And then I realized that if they did it with things from another country that maybe they didn't know, then it would kind of click to them. And so we kind of do, this is now an activity that we do, and then we'll look up different things as well from around the world. And then once we do that, we'll start talking, they learn about kids from around the world and their hobbies and interests. And then my students all make my interests and hobbies posters that they share with a class. And this is a really special activity because the things that the kids share is things that I didn't even know about my students. This really quiet girl just like loves Amazon Music, you know, like just like cool, like there. And one boy, I forgot the posters because I shared it at my last presentation. But he likes Michael Jackson so much, you know, like, and so it's just really cool to let kids just be themselves. And then when they share their hobbies and stuff with the class, they get really, you know, proud of who they are. That's very important for confidence and just everything. But then the kids in the class also get to know each other. And this is building community and building connections. So that's really important. There's also a book called This Is How We Do It. I've shared this book a lot, actually, in different presentations. I think it's 5 or 6 kids, and it goes around the world. They go to different, it shows this is how I play, and it shows how the different kids play around the world, or this is what I eat for breakfast, and it has all the different foods. This is where I live. This is my family, and it shows different scenarios. I actually just read that for Ehon Yomi Kikase at the elementary school, so I forgot to bring it as well. But my students read that book, and then we did a project with another school, with my cousin's school in the US. And my students I just made a photocopy because we sent it to them, but they made their own This Is How We Do It book with like, this is Japan, and this is where I go to school, this is what my classroom looks like, it's not as bright because it's photocopied. This is how we write. This is how I celebrate New Year's. This is what I eat for breakfast. And they kind of gave explanations and drew pictures. And then the school in America sent us this book that they made. And my students can see. So each student drew a picture of themselves and wrote like, my name is, and I like to draw, and I like music, and things like this. And one thing that I really like about this activity is my students also can see that they have different artistic styles even in Japan and America. And it was just like so many, and they look different. Not everyone has the same, style or how they look. And they have different houses. So they drew the pictures of their houses, and she lives in like a mobile home. So it was really interesting for my students to see these kinds of things. And that's another way that we could connect with people in another country. And it's pretty their level because it's just, this is what I eat. This is how I play, and things like that. Also, it's interesting because America, the kids' food is so different. It's like that family eats enchiladas, and that family eats like noodles. So it's very different and interesting for them. So it's also important for us to let our students or share stories. So these books are more kind of higher advanced, but I also want to share stories with my students about other people around the world. And we also learn about different famous people. And I tried to make very simple biographies about different people. And I titled it People Who Made the World Better. Because I think it's not just a biography. It's about it's just a more positive way to think about people. And so then my students read about different people. And then they also made their posters of people who made the world better. And they presented this to the class. So for example, he chose Ronaldo. And then he's from Portugal. His birthday is February 5. He has the same birthday as Neymar. He's a very good soccer player. Ronaldo is fast and very good at shooting. He's at Manchester United, so this was a while ago, and he won the Ballon d'Or award or whatever. Yeah. So my student can show someone he looks up to, and the other kids in the class can learn about him. And then this student did Hayao Miyazaki. And so they can look up people who made the world better, and it's a nice activity as well, getting students to share their stories, and also to read stories about different people in the world who went through difficult things. And then I also have my students write a timeline of their life to be proud of who they are and where they're from. This is actually my daughter, yeah. Yeah, so my students can read this as an example and see the different stages of life, and then they will organize their own timeline of their life. And it's practicing a lot of different things, but it's teaching my students to share their story and to be interested in other people's stories. And this, I feel like, hold on. That's it. Oh my gosh. I want to share this, but I thought I had one more thing to say about that, but I guess I didn't. Okay, hold on. Share stories. Okay, yeah, and that's not where I was. Yeah, okay. So another thing that we can have our students do is to share opinions and discuss social responsibility. So I don't know if you guys have seen this book. Has anybody seen this book? It's very simple and basic, and it's just called The Mess That We Made. It's kind of like a poem or like a rhyme, I feel like there's a hole in the bottom. Anyways, so it's just kind of showing the ocean and the mess that we made, and then we talk about how much trash do you throw away every day, or simple basic questions, and have our students talk about things like this, and what can you use instead of that, and things like that. We can also ask our students, why did humans create this robot? Why do you think we have robots? Just talking about things that maybe they need to learn how to think about, and also how to share their own opinions. And I also really like this activity. It's very simple, and I do this with my junior high school students, which is crazy because this book looks very elementary. But has anybody ever read this book? Yes? So it's called It's Okay to be Different. And so it's okay to be missing a tooth. It's okay to need some help. It's okay to have a different nose. It's okay to be a different color. It's okay to have no hair. It's okay to have big ears. It's okay to have wheels. So there's many different things. And then I give all of my junior high school students a paper. And then they make their own. It's okay. And they're really nice. Like, it's a really good activity. And then the students all will share theirs. It's okay. And then we'll all talk about it. So it's kind of a good way for them to like share things. Like, I feel like one boy, I'm sure he's going to be gay. Or he is, but I feel like, so his was like kind of that, like it's okay, but it was like discreet, I don't remember, but it was like, okay. And then like the other kids had different kind of things that they wanted to say, it's okay. And so I thought that was really, I kind of just did it one time, and then now it's like a thing that I always want to do with my junior high school students because it was so meaningful when we did this activity and got them talking and sharing their ideas with each other. So there's lots of ways that we can, in simple ways, teach our students to share opinions or to talk about different social responsibility or things that are happening in the world. And so I brought this book to share. I don't know if anybody's ever read this book. It's more advanced, but it was written by some university in Japan. It was like a project that the students did at the university, and it's like talking about like, it has to be for much more advanced students, but it says like you could buy your bananas at this farm with pesticides and everyone's unhappy, or you can buy your bananas from this farm. So it gets kids thinking about where their things come from and things like that. And I read that with my children actually, and they really like it. And then, yeah, so that's that. And I just want to finish by reading a book that I think is a great story. I read a different book in Tokyo, and I'm reading this book here. And it's just a nice story that we can read with our students to get them to think about accepting people or understanding different social things. And actually, I read this book to my own children at home, and they both recommended it for me to read at Ehon Yomi Kikase at their elementary schools. So it means that they really thought it was special, I guess. So it's called Mixed by Ari-chan. An inspiring story about color. So here we go. In the beginning, there were 3 colors: yellows, reds, and blues. So it's a very simple story you could read with kids who aren't very advanced. The reds were the loudest, la la la. The yellows were the brightest. And the blues were the coolest. And then I can ask my students, like, what color do you like? And things like this. Everyone lived in color harmony until one afternoon when a red said, "Reds are the best." The yellows disagreed. "No, we're the best because we're the brightest." The blues were too cool to even respond. The colors decided to live in separate parts of the city. But one day, a yellow noticed a blue, and something happened. "I feel so happy when I'm near you. I feel so calm when I'm near you." Yellow and blue became inseparable. Life felt so vibrant, but not all the colors were happy about it. "Colors shouldn't mix. I don't like yellow's effect on blue. That blue isn't bright enough for yellow." But what's gonna happen? Yellow and blue loved each other so much, they decided to mix. And together, they created a new color. They named her green. Green was bright like yellow and calm like blue, but really, she was a color of her own. Everyone was fascinated. Even the grumpy colors fell in love with green. "She's so cute. I've never seen anything like her before. Can I hold her?" The colors began to see new possibilities. Soon, other colors mixed and mixed and mixed and mixed. There were so many new colors and a lot of new names. Be careful, Jade. Don't forget your glasses, Lavender. Have fun, Amber. The old neighborhoods of Redville, Bluetown, and Yellow Heights didn't make sense anymore. Everyone wanted to live together, so they rebuilt the city. And the new city was full of color. It wasn't perfect, but it was home. The end. So that's kind of what I do, and I just think that's something I wanted to share with everybody. Yes?
Can you share all of the books that
Yeah, I brought more, like, yeah, I need to put a list. Like, I brought other books, like I read this one about Chinese New Year's, because it's very similar to Japan's New Year, and I think it's good for kids to, like, see China in a positive way, too, sometimes in Japan. And this one's about an orphan who has, like, a pet rock. There's, like, so many stories, and I didn't bring all of them. Some of them are more, like, difficult, but, like, stories like this are really inspiring. But they're maybe for higher level students. But I think mixed could be, like, 3rd, 4th grade. The students all can understand it, and they all, like, they know that it's going to be green, so the kids get really into it, and we can talk about it as well. But I don't talk about the real meaning behind the story, nothing like that. I'm just planting seeds. So, yeah. So I'll share those as well. And all the kind of pictures of the worksheets that I use are all from my textbooks as well. So that's just, wow, okay. If you're interested, you can come talk to me about that. Yeah. Anybody else have a question? Good? Yeah, I have no idea what time it is or how much time I have.
I really love the book, This Is How We Do It.
Yeah.
I think everybody should own that, everyone who teaches.
Yeah.
Because it's good for children, it's good for adults.
Mm.
We also are going to learn a lot. I think there are 7 kids.
Yeah, it's 7, yeah.
There's also a workbook that goes with
Yeah.
it. So this is how I do it.
Yeah.
And it's meant to be written in, but I would photocopy it. And there are a lot more options for like having a pet.
Yeah.
This is the pet I have and stuff like that. And there's places to write.
Yeah.
Instead of that, you made a book.
Yeah.
It's really great to interact with another culture. But I highly recommend that book. I think everyone.
And it's great for conversation. So if I look and we see how all the different breakfasts, I ask, what do you want to try, right? So then just getting them, and which house looks like your house, and things like that. And also, the Japanese family or house might look different than my students. And that also kind of shows them that every image of a country isn't like the whole country. I always don't want to show my students like just the poor part of Africa. Like I want to show them like, yeah, there's like cool cities and other cool things and people. So there's both sides and there's different kind of places in every place in the world. And yeah, sorry. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. That's all? Good? Yeah. Yay! Thank you.